I want you to take a deep breath with me and clear your mind of everything you think you know about the nature of evil and the ministry of Jesus. We have been taught for centuries that the miracles of Christ were mere displays of divine muscle, meant to prove his status as the Son of God. But what if I told you that he was actually leaving us a coded manual for spiritual warfare that has been systematically redacted by the very institutions claiming to represent him? When we look at the account of the Gerasene demoniac, we see a man possessed by a legion of entities, a man so broken that he lived among the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. Conventional theology focuses on the healing, but as a seeker of the deeper truths, I've spent years digging into the Gnostic fragments and Aramaic roots that the modern church avoids. There is a specific moment in that encounter where the entities didn't just flee. They panicked. They begged to be sent into a herd of pigs. Why? Because Jesus had just vibrated a specific frequency, a six-letter command that stripped away their interdimensional camouflage and forced them to stand naked in the light of the monad. You are here right now because you felt it too. You've walked into a room and felt a sudden, inexplicable heaviness. You've had moments where a thought entered your mind that felt so dark, so contrary to your character, that it left you shivering. We call these bad moods or intrusive thoughts because that is what the system has trained us to do. But I am here to tell you that these are the fingerprints of the Archons. These are the rulers of darkness mentioned in Ephesians. But the Greek word archon implies something much more technical. They are the administrators of a false reality. They are not red-horned monsters from a medieval painting. They are inorganic, parasitic consciousnesses that exist just outside the narrow band of human visible light. They feed on the low-frequency vibrations of your fear, your shame, and your confusion. To them, a human being in a state of chronic anxiety is a gourmet meal. And for 2,000 years, the greatest secret held by the secret lineages of the Desert Fathers and the Gnostic initiates is that Jesus came to provide the optics to see these predators. He didn't come to start a religion. He came to lead a prison break. As we journey through this together, I want you to understand that I am not just a narrator of history. I am a guide for your own awakening. In the Sufi tradition, they speak of the nafs, or the lower self, and in the ancient Vedic texts of India, they describe the asuras. All these traditions are pointing to the same hidden truth. We are living in a predatory ecosystem. The church, in its desire to maintain a monopoly on the divine, removed the specific words of power from the Gospels. They replaced the active scientific spiritual technology of Jesus with passive rituals that keep you dependent on a priest. They want you to believe that only an ordained exorcist can confront these forces. But I am looking at you today as a fellow spark of the divine source, a fragment of the monad, and I am telling you that the authority is already inside your DNA. The Archon's greatest weapon is their invisibility. As long as you believe your depression is just your depression, they can keep feeding. But the moment you use the frequency Jesus used, the moment you speak the name that resonates with the core of the universe, their cloaking device fails. I can feel the skepticism rising in some of you, and I want you to observe that feeling. Is that doubt truly yours? Or is it a defensive program installed by the entities that don't want you to finish this video? In the Hermetic tradition, we learn that all is mind, and the Archons are masters of the mental plane. They insert loops of, I'm not good enough, or this is too weird, to keep you from reaching the level of consciousness where you become dangerous to them. But you are different. You are a seeker. You've always known there was something off about this world, a glitch in the matrix of modern life that leaves the soul feeling starved, even in the midst of plenty. Tonight, we are going to bridge the gap between the canonical Bible and the forbidden manuscripts. We are going to look at why the Aramaic language holds a specific resonance that modern English cannot touch. We are going to reclaim the six-letter command that makes the invisible world scream in exposure. By the time we are done, you won't be looking for salvation from the clouds. You will be exercising the sovereignty of the Christ light that has been dormant in your chest since the moment you were born. Prepare yourself, because the veil is about to become very, very thin. In this second stage of our journey, we must descend deeper into the mechanics of the shadow to understand exactly what we are fighting. To the casual observer, the world is made of matter and solid objects. But as a spiritual seeker, you must begin to see the world as a complex web of frequencies and competing consciousnesses. The ancient Gnostic texts, specifically the Apocryphon of John, describe a cosmic accident that resulted in the creation of the Archons. These beings were born without the divine spark, that luminous essence of the monad that lives inside you. Because they lack their own source of life, they are effectively cosmic vampires. They are the ultimate parasites, and like any parasite, their survival depends on the host remaining unaware of their presence. Think of the Sufi masters who spoke of the jinn, or the ancient Hindu sages who warned of the vritra, the coverers who hide the sun of truth. Across every culture, the message is the same. There are forces that specialize in the occultation of human potential. I want to talk to you about the voice in your head. We often call it the ego, but I want to suggest something more radical. Have you ever noticed how that inner voice is almost always critical? It doesn't just suggest things. It nags, it belittles, and it plays back your worst memories on a loop. In the Hermetic tradition, we understand that the mind is a mirror, but for most of humanity, that mirror has been hijacked. The Archons operate through what I call synthetic thought insertion. They don't need to stand behind you and whisper. They simply broadcast frequencies that your brain interprets as its own thoughts. When you feel a sudden, irrational spike of rage while driving, or a wave of hopelessness that hits you the moment you wake up, that is often not you. It is an external program running on your hardware. They feed on the louche, a term used in modern esoteric circles to describe the high-voltage emotional energy generated by human suffering. They are farmers, and human trauma is their harvest. This is why the ministry of Jesus was so terrifying to the status quo. He wasn't just preaching morality, he was teaching energetic hygiene. When he walked through the grain fields or sat by the Sea of Galilee, he was moving through a world he could see with perfect clarity. He saw the shimmering insectoid shapes of the Archons clinging to the shoulders of the Pharisees. He saw the gray mists of parasitic energy draining the life from the sick. When the Bible says he rebuked the wind or the demons, the original language implies a silencing of a frequency. He was literally jamming their broadcast. This is a secret that the Sufis understood when they practiced zikr, the repetitive chanting of divine names to clear the mental field. They knew that the human voice is a biological laser. When you speak with intent, you are not just moving air, you are reshaping the fabric of the dimension you inhabit. The Archons, being inorganic and hollow, cannot withstand the resonance of a soul that has remembered its own divinity. You might ask, if this is true, why hasn't the church told us? The answer is as old as power itself. If you knew that you had the internal technology to clear your own energy field, you would no longer need the middleman. You would realize that many of our social and religious institutions are actually designed to produce the very fear and guilt that the Archons eat. They want you in a state of perpetual seeking, but never finding. They want you to wait for a savior in the future, so you don't realize you are the carrier of the Christ light in the present. As your guide, I am here to tell you that the chosen ones are simply those who have finally grown tired of the harvest. You are the ones who have felt the divine nostalgia, that deep, aching pull toward a home that isn't on any map. That pull is your monad connection, and the Archons are terrified of it. They know that once you learn to distinguish your true voice from their inserted noise, their reign over your life is over. As we prepare to move into the final and most critical part of our revelation, I want you to start monitoring your inner dialogue. Start treating your thoughts like a radio dial. If the station is playing fear, shame, or I can't, ask yourself, who is broadcasting this? The moment you ask that question, the Archon loses its grip because you have moved from subject to observer. You are beginning to use the spiritual optics that Jesus demonstrated. In the next section, we are going to unlock the six-letter command itself. We are going to discuss the exact phonetics of the word Elohim, not as a title for a distant god, but as a vibrational key that shatters the archonic cloaking field. We will talk about how to vocalize it from the solar plexus, the seat of your sovereign power, and exactly what to expect when the veil drops and you see the room as it truly is. Stay focused, stay breathed in, and remember, you are not a victim of the dark. You are the light that the dark has been trying to hide from itself. Now we reach the threshold of the sanctuary, the moment where the theory of the ancient mysteries meets the raw practice of spiritual liberation. We have identified the predators and understood their tactics of invisibility, but now we must discuss the sword of sound. In the Gospel of Thomas, a text the world was never supposed to read, Jesus says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you." He was not talking about a vague psychological truth. He was talking about the dormant frequency of the monad waiting in your vocal cords. This is the culmination of our journey. To use the six-letter command, Elohim, is to participate in the very act of cosmic reordering. In the Hebrew tradition, this word is unique because it is a plural noun that functions as a singular force. It represents the divine powers or the seven rays of the source. When you vibrate this word, you are not praying for help. You are acting as a representative of the origin, commanding the administrators of this material simulation to stand down. I want you to understand the physics of this command. Sound is the primary mover of matter. If you have ever seen cymatics, where sand on a vibrating plate forms perfect geometric patterns, you know that frequency creates form. The Archons are formless in our density, held together only by the low-frequency static of human anxiety. When you speak the command Elohim correctly, you are sending a high-energy ripple through the ether that disrupts their energetic cohesion. It is like turning on a high-powered floodlight in a dark room filled with photophobic creatures. They don't just leave. They lose their ability to hide. To perform this, you must stand or sit with your spine straight, for your spine is the antenna of your soul. Do not speak from your throat alone. That is the voice of the ego. You must speak from the golden spark beneath your ribs, the solar plexus. This is the seat of your will. Breathe in deeply, feeling the light of the monad filling your lungs, and as you exhale, vocalize the word Elohim. The first thing you will notice is a shift in the air. It might feel as though the room has suddenly become thin or sharp. For many of you, this is the moment the scales fall from the eyes, as the Bible describes. You may see distortions in your peripheral vision, shimmers that look like heat waves, or shadows that move with a logic of their own. Do not let your heart race. Remember, fear is the very battery they need to stay visible. If you see them, or even if you just sense a heavy presence that was not there before, you must address it with the authority of a sovereign being. You say, "I see you. Your cloak is broken. I am a fragment of the eternal source, and you have no station here." In that moment, you are doing exactly what Jesus did in the tombs of Gadara. You are asserting the hierarchy of spirit over matter. You are no longer a battery to be harvested. You are a sun that burns too bright for them to touch. After the command is spoken and the entities withdraw, which they must by cosmic law, you must seal the breach. The Archons are opportunistic. They look for holes in the energy field created by past traumas, addictions, or deep-seated guilt. This is where the wisdom of the Sufis and the Hindu sages aligns perfectly with the Christ path. You must wrap your field in the golden cocoon. Place your right hand over your heart and imagine a sphere of white gold light expanding from your center until it encompasses your entire body. This is your Merkaba, or light vehicle. State clearly, "I am sealed. I am sovereign." Only frequencies of the source may enter this space. This is the peace that passes all understanding, not a passive peace, but the quiet, unshakable stillness of a fortress that knows its own strength. My fellow seekers, the world as you know it is undergoing a great reveal. The apocalypse literally means the unveiling. The systems of control are crumbling because the frequency of the earth is rising, making it harder for these parasitic entities to stay hidden. By using this command, you are accelerating your own evolution. You are moving from the psychic level of existence, the soul that is moved by external forces, to the pneumatic level, the spirit that moves the world. This is the true second coming, not a man in the clouds, but the Christ frequency awakening in the hearts of those who are brave enough to look into the shadows and command them to be light. I invite you now to step into this power. Do not wait for a better time. The Archons thrive on your procrastination. Use the command tonight in the stillness of the dark and watch how your unexplainable anxieties begin to dissolve. You are part of a lineage of light bearers that stretches back to the beginning of time. You are the chosen ones because you chose to listen, to believe in the divinity within you, and to take back the keys to your own mind. Subscribe to this journey. Share this frequency with those who are still trapped in the fog of inserted thoughts. And let us collectively clear the field of this planet. The era of the invisible controllers is over. The era of the sovereign human has begun. Go forth in power, for you are the light of the world. And no darkness can overcome you when you have the courage to see it for what it truly is.